Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Dive podcast. Let me make sure my mic's straight, because all right, there we go. Woo. I'm your host, Mual. AJ is backstage, about to go get him on. Dre is on the way. But let's get the administrative items while we are waiting. If you're on the YouTube side, man, you just checking in, man. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure that subscribe button, bro. We definitely appreciate that. Twitch side, same thing. If you just tapping in, if you are new, hit that follow button, man. We appreciate that. And while we're on the YouTube side, if you haven't checked out the Jaden Daniels prospect profile breakdown. The three are up on YouTube right now. You can check out all three if you haven't seen them. Binge on them things right quick. Drake May is up next. He'll be out on his first one is out on Thursday. So we will have Drake May coming up next in his series. So stay tuned for that one as well. And then we'll save the big dog of the drag clash for last. I don't know how everybody feel about that one, but I'm over here reading Will. Sounds checked out. All right, bet. Appreciate you. But yeah, we're gonna say the big dog for last, Caleb Williams. But he'll make sure he gets some spotlight over here. But it's not just quarterbacks too, by the way. Those are just the quarterbacks that we're talking about. We're gonna have some tight ends, offensive line. However much I can get to. I'm a one-man gang over here. You know what I'm saying? I got a day job. Audio side, man. If you are new to the audio side, man, definitely appreciate y'all checking us out. Make sure you hit that follow button if you are brand new on whatever platform you are listening to. Give us a rating and review, man. It's free. You know, I ain't asking for too much. You know what I'm saying? Show some support. Let the people know how you feel about Trap or Dive, man. We definitely appreciate that. Let's go ahead and get AJ in here right quick. And appreciate you, Will, for checking in. And everybody that's checking in live. We got some things to talk about today. But first and foremost, AJ, what's going on with you, player? If you're talking, you're muted, by the way.
Hey, not much, man. Cool. How's everything going on your end? You can hear me?
Yeah. Just taking a little sip of water. But yeah, no, things are good. It was a long day, but
am I still muted?
Nah. You're not muted. Can you hear me? Oh, AJ acting up, bruh. Oh, let me
Okay.
Let me go ahead and message you in the chat. I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me. Also, that light behind you is bright as shit. Do you know that? But oh wait, no, I got one more thing. You may have to.
I can hear you. See.
Uh, oh, that's funny. All right, you got me. Man, say you got the interrogation light. What's going on, Monty? Let's go ahead and get Dre in here. Dre just checked in. Boom. What's going on with you, big dog? What's up, Dre?
I'm trying to figure out why AJ looked like he in 1992 and we in 2024.
Yeah, bro. Somebody said they got the interrogation light on over there, bro. I don't think he where he want to be.
Nah, his whole screen, that joint looked like he was using 92 Polaroid.
Hey, bro. Good Lord. AJ, man, go ahead. Hey, I can't call it. I can't call it, man. I know we had a little interesting day. I don't know. We'd call it something spectacular, but I do think there was some nuggets here and there with Washington and with some teams that may, be of importance as the draft process moves along. So, I do think we got a few things to talk about today, Dre. Where do we want to start? Because we know that Dan Quinn spoke. We know that Adam Peters spoke as well. He had some nuggets that he gave out. I don't think there was something like super revealing. I think the biggest, because his actual pressure at the combine was different than what he gave Grant and Danny. I don't know if you heard that one, Dre. But he had some quote. Okay, yeah, he had some quotes coming out of that one. So that one was interesting. We got the franchise tag, comments on the franchise tag. They won't be using that on anybody. But they did speak with Cam Curl. So like, where do we want to start, man? I'm gonna give you the lead, man. You running point right now. Where we going first? I mean, and we got a conversation about Sam. I said Sam Howell. The number 2 overall pick. Should the number 2 overall pick be competing for the starting job once he gets drafted in Washington? We have that.
Is that what we started?
That really drove me crazy. I'm giving you point. I'm saying, but those are
that's
got
fine.
some options.
Yeah, we can actually start with that. I mean, I actually think that's a ridiculous conversation, to be honest with you.
Yes, I agree. But you know what really threw me, Dre, is like I realized it was a ridiculous conversation, but it was so ridiculous that the feedback and pushback that I was getting confused me. I'm like, there's so many people that agrees with this, but the kicker is, and this is what I think is most important, you never know. Like, people disguise themselves. Like, if they're a stan, they disguise themselves like the Howell stands or the Drake May stands or the Jaden Daniels stands or Caleb stands. They disguise themselves and how they talk to people. So I'm like, where is this stuff coming from? And then lo and behold, the people who are actually giving you pushback are the people who are also the same case of trade back, build the team up, give Sam Howell another shot. And then I'm like, oh, it all makes sense. I'll give you the floor, but what you think about this? Because I like you said it's ridiculous. I'm actually honestly in the same boat.
No, it's ridiculous, and you're right, Mual, about how people disguise themselves, and you can always tell who they are. They have the same kind of conversations, the same talking points, but they'll tell you something like, "Oh, I don't really care. I'm with whatever they want," but they're still driving the point that they want to drive home about the player that they like. But with the whole competition thing, the irony in that is a lot of these same people that screaming competition, oh yeah, we should just make them compete. They didn't want a competition last year with Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. Everyone just said, yeah, Sam should have a job. What's the point of starting Brissett? So now they don't see that when you draft a guy number 2, I mean, this is a guy you're putting a high investment in, and you're telling him he has to compete with his peer. This isn't a mentor situation. That's a conversation we'll likely get into for the rest of the show as well. But this isn't a situation where the young draft picks coming in to compete with a mentor, and maybe they want them to sit behind a mentor for a couple of games. Justin Herbert, I believe, did that with the Chargers to start off. But this is a situation where he will be competing against his peer. What is the point of that? Like, if you see Sam Howell as that type of guy that can start over a number 2 pick in the draft, then why are you drafting a quarterback at number 2? Like, it just doesn't even make sense to me, because that number 2 pick should have every resource available for his development. He shouldn't have anything factoring into against him as far as competition wise. Like, he's looking over his shoulder. And I also feel like that's going to be a thing here, even if Sam Howell stays. I feel like at some point, if he makes mistakes, you got a fan base that still loves this guy, Sam Howell. And everybody's like, oh, man, Sam can go out there and do better than that. Or Sam should get this chance. So, it's one of those things to the point where I actually feel like it's not even beneficial to have Sam around as a backup. It just, you can do something else there. But for me, the only way I would say he can compete, this number 2 draft pick can compete, is if you are bringing in a mentor that you want him to learn from for a bit, learn the game. You're not learning anything from your peer in a sense, especially a guy that's probably just as raw as anybody in this damn draft, even with 2 years of NFL experience. Like, Sam hasn't solidified himself as the guy in this league, or as a certified starter in this league to even put on that level. So for me, no, the conversation about having a competition with the number 2 pick is absolutely ridiculous, especially with Sam Howell.
Yeah, bro. I think I'm in that same boat. And the more frustrating thing is like understanding. Now, you touched on a lot of things, Dre, with the topic. So I'll try to like skim over my high level views. But I think that when you look at Washington's situation, right, at what point has anybody seen Washington have the number 2 overall pick in recent years, or let's just say a top 3 draft pick overall in recent years, draft a quarterback, and then say, yeah, man, let's go ahead and let him compete with Sam Howell. And if he isn't ready yet, cool. Like, there's no big deal. Let's just go ahead and let him sit for a little bit till he's ready to go. I've seen people, shout out to Alex, that's my boy from the Hog Style. But I've seen Alex say along the lines of, yeah, man, it's I think that they should if they do draft a quarterback at 2, they should still not even let him play and let him and let him sit for like a month until they can figure out their offense, the interior offensive line play out. And in my head, I'm like a scenario like that plays out. It's like, well, if you want to give him a timetable now before you even draft a guy, why is it a month? Why do you give him a month to sit? Like, what makes you think that he's going to be ready in a month if you already want him to sit, like, before you even figure out if he can play or not? Secondly, before you can even figure out how the rest of the team is going to look, like, if you feel this way about that quarterback, right, in that one angle, what makes you think anybody and shout out to Linnell. Linnell said, I'm over here telling you, what makes you think that anybody's going to believe that this person is the right pick when August or September comes around and he's not your week 1 starter, right? And he's saying you can't be worried about perception if there's a competition going on, right? And that number 2 overall pick loses the QB battle. That makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense, but it makes no sense from the standpoint of, it's not about perception, it's about reality. Odds are you don't draft a guy that high overall at number 2 if he's not the person that you're going to put out there in week 1, that you're not going to give all the resources and time and investment to become ready by week 1 to start for your team, right? Only for them to say, yeah, we're going to have this competition, but if he loses, we're not going to hide that. I just think, honestly, when you think about competition, when you draft the number 2 overall pick for quarterback, there shouldn't be any. It should be more about, we're going to give this guy every opportunity to succeed until he shows us that he can't play. It's not about what these 2 are going to do. It's about this person and this person only. You are the backup. And I think ultimately, even when you think about RG3, like, that was the last time you had a number 2 overall pick, right? And what happened in training camp? He was the bona fide number 1 guy. There was no questions about no questions about who exactly should be the number one quarterback there. You think about Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins was the number one, but guess what everybody was saying on social media? Like, it's like what they always do with Sam Howell last year. You mentioned it. He should be the number one guy, no question. Dwayne Haskins, why is he threw the touchdown in Cincinnati in the preseason? Why isn't he starting?
He had Case Keenum over him, and that was a miss. Yep.
Exactly. And that's where I'm getting at. Like, I was on the side of he ain't ready yet. Like, if they say he ain't ready, believe that he ain't ready. Like, and I think that's the situation where you really have to be insulated with a quarterback. Like, if you got a veteran, right, this isn't like a Baltimore Ravens situation where Joe Flacco was there for Lamar. This isn't a Green Bay situation where Aaron Rodgers was there for Jordan Love. This wasn't a Kansas City situation where Alex Smith was there for Pat Mahomes. This isn't a situation where Tyrod Taylor was there for Josh Allen. This isn't a situation where Tyrod Taylor's there for Justin Herbert. Like, there's so many other instances that tells you, like, these guys, like, they have a structure in place that allows these people to sit a little bit. And that will make things a little bit more easier on a new regime. But you're getting this guy at number 2 to start. You're getting this guy at number 2 to win you games by week 1, and you're going to do everything you can to make sure that he's ready.
And Mo,
I think.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, man. I think a lot of people don't understand the workings of how it is to be a quarterback, one, in general, but then even in the league. Like, if you're sitting on the bench, what are you really learning? Like, you have to actually put that stuff on tape of what you're seeing, like in the film room. Like, you got to be able to execute those plays. You can only get those opportunities if you're on the field. Like, I don't understand why people are even considering Sam Howell as being in a competition, because at the end of the day, he's going to be learning a new system once again, and he's not a veteran in the league. So it just makes it kind of hard for you to, pinpoint this guy should be in competition. As you described, Maul, like when Tyrod was in San Diego or LA Chargers, however you want to call it, with Justin Herbert, Tyrod been a Pro Bowl quarterback prior to that, led a team to the championship. I'm not the championship, but the playoffs. And he also was working under Anthony Lynn, who was the OC for the Buffalo Bills. So he had the familiarity over the system over Justin Herbert. Like, those are prime examples where you could possibly start a guy for, several weeks throughout the system. Out the season. But at the end of the day, there's no reason that we should even be talking about Sam Howell possibly being the starter or competition until that rookie is prepared to play. Like, it just doesn't make sense. We're not even really sure if Sam Howell may even be on the roster, because
trade interest. That's what we hear.
We started the week off with a reputable reporter, putting out there that he heard that there was a 3rd round interest in regards to him. But at the end of the day, who knows if he's going to stay on the roster or get moved. But I still think that this team needs to bring in a veteran quarterback just to solidify that QB room, aside from the coaching staff of Kingsbury, Brian Johnson, and Tavia Pritchard.
And let me just add to this, it's something else I've been seeing what some of the fans have been kind of doing, and they talk about, well, they always want to bring up Green Bay's situation and how they bring up franchise quarterbacks. And they say, well, that's the right way to do it. But when has Washington had a Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers to allow a guy to transition into that moment? We haven't had that situation. So you can't compare us to Green Bay. Like, who was our rookies going to sit behind for years? Case Keenum, Alex Smith? No, I mean, it's just not realistic to kind of compare the two scenarios. Sure, it's the ideal way. I would love to have the Green Bay system where you have a franchise quarterback for 10 to 15 years and you can draft his replacement, well, his eventual replacement, and have him sit for 3 to 4 years like Green Bay does. But we have never had Green Bay's luxury of having back-to-back franchise guys, so we're not the same situation.
Yeah. Last thing, do we trade or keep Sam Howell? What's the play here? I'm in the, I don't have a problem keeping him, but I'm not too confident about like keeping him with like just him and the rookie. I think I would keep him. No, I'm sorry. Let me actually be more definitive. I say trade him if you can literally get a third for him. If you get a third for him, let him go.
Hey, to be honest with you, Mo, I would take a 5th round pick for Sam. Like I would take a 5th round pick if we are offered a 5th round pick. I'm not sure you'll ever get more than that for him. I know that the report was out there that you could possibly get a 3rd or he's gone or in that type of interest, but I don't know the validity of that report. Like I just don't see you getting that high of a pick. If you do get that high of a pick, you take that immediately. But personally, I would take a 5th round pick at this point because if I'm drafting a guy at number 2, obviously this is the guy I'm viewing as my future. And like, AJ and you also said, I would prefer a veteran quarterback to back up my rookie. Like, I don't want a 3rd-year guy that we still have question marks about what he can do in this league behind the quarterback or if he could be a legitimate backup. Because right now, I don't even know if Sam Howell is a legitimate backup in this league. I do think that he can be that one day, maybe 1 to 2 years from now. But as of right now, I don't know if Sam could come in a pinch and win you a ball game. Because we've seen the last, at the end of the season, or the last 10 weeks or 9 weeks or whatever it was, Sam never showed the flash of anything. He didn't show a flash of a starting quarterback. He didn't show a flash of a guy that can go out there and win you games for the rest of for the rest of the season. So you got to wonder if he comes in the game in a pinch, if defenses are already going to be like, well, all we got to do is beat Sam Howell. We know that's his weakness and that's what we're going to do. That's the game plan. So I don't know if he can be a legitimate backup right now. I do think he can be that in this NFL at one point, but I also think Sam needs to learn some more. I think the ideal situation for Sam is to learn behind a veteran quarterback. Just like I think the ideal situation for our number 2 pick, be it as a quarterback, I think his ideal situation is having a veteran guy behind him. So the role should be reversed in a sense. And I don't think Sam will have that here, which would be his ideal situation. And I don't think that's what we need at this point. So if I can get a 5th round pick for Sam, which is what we drafted him with, I would take the 5th round pick for him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Dre. I would definitely move on from Sam Howell. I think even Sam Howell, the best situation, like you stated, is for him to be behind a veteran, whether that be an Aaron Rodgers, even a Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, if, maybe they want to go a different directions besides Browning, Tua Tagovailoa. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks that were the starters got injured during the season and a lot of backups had to play. I think there's value in having a guy who has been able to play the amount of games that Sam Howell has, being that last year was like his first year getting the start. But overall, in that quarterback room, there's really not much he can bring to it right now if you're going to draft the quarterback at number 2. He's just another body taking up a roster spot. You still got to bring in that veteran that can help on and off the field. As Sam Howell even alluded to during the season, Jacoby Brissett was a major help for him, preparing for his regular season debut and the rest of the weeks throughout the year. It's of importance to have a veteran presence so that you can help your guys get groomed to the league and also have that rapport with someone within that room and not have to rely so much on the coaching or the positional coaches.
But what are you trading them for? Like that's what or was it literally the 5th round pick that you mentioned?
I was literally agreeing with Dre, a 5th round pick. I think that's his true value. I can't say that a 3rd round pick makes sense to me. I don't know how that necessarily came about, but if we're sitting here thinking that Justin Fields is going to get traded from the Bears for a possibly 2nd round pick, how could Sam Howell be worth a 3rd? Like, it just doesn't add up.
All right. All right. So let's get to Adam Peters, fellas. He spoke a couple times. Like I said, he spoke at the presser, and then he had an interview with Grant and Daniel on 106.7. What was some takeaways from? Oh, I'm sorry, Dan Quinn spoke too. Shoot, we got a couple people. I missed the Dan Quinn one. I've been ripping and running, but I know y'all probably got me covered. Dre, did you listen to Dan Quinn at all? I got some quotes.
I did listen to him. Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. All right, so we got Adam Peters at the top. Did we get anything from his interview on the podium at all?
For me, Adam Peters, man, he's kind of like a politician. He doesn't give you much. I mean, he says just enough of what he has to say. I did like the relevant talking points about what they look for in a quarterback, the certain traits. And then, of course, there was the, him also mentioning how the assistant coaches have put together certain player profiles, and they give those player profiles to the scouts to kind of identify the type of players that the position group coaches are looking for. I mean, those are some of the things that just stand out to me as far as what I like, because to me, that's an attention to detail. Like, they have a specific attack plan on how they want to build this roster, and also I think maybe the one that kind of stood out to a lot of people was his comments on free agency. Now, obviously we have the 90. Well, I don't know the exact number of what we have. I just know we probably have the most cap space, and a lot of fans are probably expecting us to spend most of that cap. But Adam Peters kind of dialed back on that a little bit. He was basically like, I don't think that's the way we're going to build our team, is spending all of our cap this year. I didn't get a chance to hear him elaborate on, why that's the plan for them, or why they don't think that's the route they want to go. But I did think that was interesting, because a lot of fans are kind of expecting a lot of splashes of free agency. I mean, who knows? Adam Peters could be, he could be fluff. He's a politician in the sense that he's not giving you too much. He's not giving away the plan. But at this point, it's kind of like I'm tempering my expectations of maybe what they're going to do in free agency. And that kind of goes back to Cam Curl, his comments on Cam Curl. Like, what are they going to do with Cam Curl? He mentioned they spoke with his reps and they're going to continue those conversations. But he also said he's not using a franchise tag on Cam Curl. So you got to wonder, if they don't get a deal done with Cam, I mean, how much of a priority is Cam? Like, are they going to set the limit on what they want to give Cam? Because Cam does seem like he wants his payday at this point. So now, if they don't go the Cam route, obviously they're going to.
Uh-oh. Drayden dropped again.
Bruh, it's StreamYard. Like, at the end of the day, it's StreamYard. But
you think so?
I was having the same issues yesterday, and it don't make sense. Like,
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
on
don't know.
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So, but either way, just to piggyback off of what Dre was saying, with Adam Peters, yeah, he pretty much alluded to the fact that they won't be using a franchise tag on Cam Curl, but they have been speaking with his representatives. That's one of the key things that happens alongside with watching the prospects and having interviews with those prospects at the combine. A lot of the agents also have clients that are participating, but they still have active guys on rosters, so you're able to have those conversations with the GMs. Everyone is there. It's a big ass hub. So those are things that will help them get an idea of what Cam Curl is looking to receive on that on the free agency market, and even getting a better understanding of the free agency market at that position, and what it could possibly be, like having a forecast. I think that is what really will dictate what happens with Cam Curl. If it's a similar market to last year, where like a CJ Gardner-Johnson ended up signing for 1 year, $6 million deal, it's going to be a bit tough for Cam Curl to get maybe 14 million, because he doesn't necessarily have the statistical things to rely on to help him negotiate even further, that he's making impactful plays as far as turning the ball over. And you also have this coaching staff that has familiarity with a free agent that's on the market that will be much cheaper than what Cam Curl is asking for, and that's Jaron Kearse, who played the Buffalo nickel for them in Dallas, about 6'4", 220. That also helps. So we'll see how it plays out for Cam Curl in that situation. But, Adam Peters didn't really reveal too much in his presser, as expected. And as many of the other GMs across the NFL landscape, they're not going to say too much. Some people are running with a comment about not being, I think he said something about like not being a big spender in the free agency, what have you. But you can't tip your hand to let agents and teams and players know that you plan on just spending all your money in cap just because you have one of the top spots as far as availability. You can't go out there and say, yeah, we plan on spending a bunch in free agency. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good presser. He didn't really reveal too much, and that's all you really ask out of those opportunities when you get in front of the media.
But I do think there's something to say about the idea behind what Peters is saying with free agency. Because if the issue is, so like, put it this way, who is this? Mitch Tisler posted this quote from Adam Peters on the speed of the roster build, and he says that we want to build responsibly, and I don't know if going after a bunch of high-priced free agents sets you up for the long term. And then, as well as on the Grant and Danny show, he mentioned, when asked about having the most money to spend in free agency, he said 90 million is a big number, but we'll spend a lot less than that. I don't want to set too high of expectations. There's a lot of holes we need to fill, but we're always going to be a team that builds through the draft. Essentially, that's not the exact words, but I think even still, like, those quotes align with even what he said on day one when he did his intro presser. And I think the expectations part probably is a dual message to both the fan base and like you mentioned, was a good point, to agents and free agents. But that, I don't think that necessarily means that they're going to spend all 90 in one offseason. Like, they may get a high price free agent or two, but they may do like a ton of like tier 2, tier 3 shopping, like whatever that looks like. But I think that's kind of what he's telling us in these instances, because he knows, like, if I can identify that person that's already in the NFL that fits the mold of what we want to look for in our players, right, that we want to play for, or that we want to play for us, that is what that looks like. It's interesting to see that Adam Peters acknowledged that, they've been having, where's the exact quote that I saw with Cam Curl? He said that Adam Peters all but confirmed this. They won't use the franchise tag on Cam Curl. And then he said, I can just say from playing against them, when I was in San Fran, he was always one of the best players on the defense, a guy we had to watch out for, a guy we had to game plan for. So he has a lot of respect for him. I've heard great things about him. We're definitely going to explore that and see if it fits into our overall plans. Another angle to that is understanding. I remember when Ron, when he did run his mouth too much, he would always say he can't give like ringing endorsements or something like we want him back or something, things like that of that nature to the media, because like he loses leverage. So at the very least, Adam Peters said, like, gave his highest praises to Cam Curl in the media without saying we want to get him back, or like definitively speaking in that manner. So it is interesting to see like how they're going to view him. And the more I think about that, like, I'm sure Cam is going to get he's clearly tested the market. He's not going to tag him, but I think that's probably the main takeaway that I got from his messaging yesterday. Adam Peters in particular, he didn't really share too much about quarterbacks. He really talked about the money that they had, but he also talked about free agency and the idea of spending, as well as the franchise tag.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Apparently, Google Chrome has changed something where they're freezing if you have a background. So my shit keeps cutting off.
That's what it is. I'm on what is this? Microsoft Edge.
No, so and I just switched to Edge. So I had to, because I was on Chrome and it crashed a couple times. But anyway, no, I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, Adam Peters, I mean, he, for me, I actually like him. I mean, I also think he's not too comfortable in front of a camera. I mean, if you haven't noticed, he gives short answers, he gives vague answers, which is fine. He's like a scout by heart. And like Dan Quinn is like the exact opposite. Like Dan Quinn, he gives you a lot. Like I listened to a little bit of his presser today, and Dan Quinn gives you like long-winded, detailed answers, which is cool too. And but one of the common themes with those two is talking about what they're looking for, what type of player they're looking for. And I like how creative the reporters are kind of getting with their questions, because they know that these guys aren't going to give them too much. Like with Dan Quinn had an interesting answer to one of the reporters' questions, and they had asked Adam Peters essentially the same question. It was like, can you kind of break down the type of quarterback you're looking for? Adam Peters kind of went into a bit. I mean, Dan Quinn went into a little bit more detail than Adam Peters. He left it up to fan speculation in the sense as to who he's talking about. He's like, yeah, I like the mental toughness, the physical toughness. I like the guy that can break away in the pocket and he can make off-schedule plays and he could turn a bad play into a good play.
Accuracy
he can
on
use
the
his
deep
legs.
ball.
Yes, accuracy. He can stand tall and, all of these type of things. So now fans are left speculating like, oh, man, he's talking about Jaden Daniels. Oh, man, he's talking about Caleb Williams, or he's talking about Drake May. So you can kind of go in any direction. But in a sense, it's kind of like, yeah, he is kind of alluding to one of those guys. You would think, at least, that's what they're going with. So I mean, it's kind of interesting to see the contrast between Peters and Quinn and the type of answers they give, because Peters ain't giving you that much. Like Adam is like, yeah, we like this guy, and then Adam kind of had a slip up with his he said I got to go find a new quarterback after he was talking about Brock Purdy. He was mentioning he found Brock Purdy. Then I'm here in DC and I have to find a new quarterback. And Mual, I'm not sure if you could find the quote he mentioned about Trey Lance and the things he learned about the Trey Lance trade. I don't know if that was on the Grant and Danny show or if that was in the press conference, but I also thought that was interesting because I had never heard him speak on the Trey Lance thing. And that was one of the kind of things that some people in this area have brought up as maybe one of the questions we want to ask Adam Peters, like what was his involvement in the Trey Lance trade? What did he learn from it? And I don't have it verbatim, but I know he mentioned something about he used the Trey Lance process as a learning curve. And he mentioned that, they love Trey Lance and they like what they've seen of him, but unfortunate circumstances led to him not being the guy in San Francisco. And he learned from that process. So you got to kind of wonder
what I had from Trey Lance, this is from JP Finley. He said, any trade is a data point. I think the world of trade, there's a lot of different things with him or with anybody that goes into the level of success that you have. I did learn a lot from that trade. That's the one Trey Lance quote that I got. So maybe there's another one.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of alluding to. I mean, he doesn't give you much, but he pretty much talks about what he learned and from the process. We still don't know what his full involvement was with that trade. But again, it's just good to learn from those type of things. But I mean, overall, man, I'm just excited to, get this combine started, to, kind of, see who they're going to be meeting with this week. I mean, obviously, I think they said they got a meeting with Jaden Daniels tomorrow. So, who knows what comes of that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting hearing some of the stuff coming out of Indy this week.
Yeah. Dan Quinn, you mentioned the conversation about quarterback. It's funny that you mentioned that, and to an extent, all three of them, the top three guys, have some of those, like they flash every single one of those things. So it's like, if you like the people out there want to clamor, he talk about Jaden. He talk, we finna trade up, get Caleb. We
some people even say about Sam.
We need to. I'm about to mute. I'm about to mute every single one of them who keep saying that. But we gonna go get Sam. I mean, we gonna keep saying. Yeah,
late,
I know.
I had Sam Howell muted since probably October 5th, 2023. So I don't even see that. I don't even see that man name. Like my first time seeing it in the last several months was when we planned the segments for today.
My goodness, I don't blame you, bro. But yeah, like funny enough, he mentions all those traits, and I think obviously that's kind of today's game, bro. You got to be able to create. We ain't messing with no statues in the pocket. He also mentioned the playoff loss to Green Bay. He said those are games that leaves a scar. That team had been excellent. It can't be the Google. It can't be the Google Chrome now. But those games are explosive. Those games leave a scar. The team had been excellent about not allowing explosive plays, and certainly that was a game that wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. Like, are we missing anything in particular? I do know if there was one thing that I did want to touch on for a brief second. Who was it? I think it was the GM for the Bears, where he mentioned, I don't know if we're going to trade Justin Fields, but if we do, I want to do right by him.
Yeah.
Let me look at. Oh, sorry. So you know what I'm talking about? Because I'm trying to find
that's what he said. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. And that's what any team, if they were to move on from Justin Fields, would want as well. You would want him to get into your program as soon as possible, OTA start. You would also like to be able to
Oh,
formulate your free agency plan correctly, because if you are going to move on, Justin Fields needs to be on another team as soon as the league year starts, because that's going
so
to change how you handle your free agency.
so here's the quote right quick, and then we can kind of discuss it for a quick second. We can really wrap this thing up right quick. But here we go. This is Bears for those that's listening. This is Bears GM Ryan Poles on if the team decides to draft the quarterback, a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick.
If you decide to draft a quarterback, what is your motivation to trade Justin before free agency starts, knowing that there might be a premium?
Yeah, again, it just depends on what opportunities pop up. I will say this: I think you guys know me well enough now. I do. If we go down that road, I want to do right by Justin as well. No one wants to live in gray. I know that's uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to be in that situation either. So we'll gather the information. We'll move as quickly as possible. We're not going to be in a rush, and see what presents itself and what's best for the organization.
What is your
So in all, another thing that Adam Schefter added is that he doesn't think it'll be right to not trade Justin before free agency begins. That's also what you alluded to, AJ. So I think if there's one thing for sure that we'll know about where Washington stands in this quarterback situation during the draft is if Justin Fields does get traded within the next couple of weeks. That is ultimately what's going to tell it. I already made my bet. They're trading Justin. I think that even him acknowledging this is publicly acknowledging Justin. We're gonna make sure that you good, bro. But we're gonna deuces.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, in the next week or so, we should be knowing at least what's going to happen if one of the teams are going to move up to possibly number 1, or Justin Fields will get moved. You'll start hearing even more rumors about it. I'm not necessarily a better man, but I still feel strongly that the Chicago Bears are going to keep Justin Fields and build around him and trade that pick. That's just my gut feeling.
You said what? You said you feel strongly about that?
Yeah, I feel strongly about it. Like,
I feel like you bullshitting. You just don't want to let us know that you bullshitting. You bullshitting.
I'm not
bro.
saying that Washington necessarily might be able to pull off the trade, but I don't believe that Chicago will draft Caleb Williams. That's just my opinion on that. But like I said, this week is important with these conversations. You could pretty much talk about anything. You could run into guys within hallways, hotels. You could be at lunch or dinner at one of these spots in shitty ass Indianapolis. And
AJ, we need you there. Why you not in
I'm about to
Indianapolis
say
right now,
you
AJ?
supposed to be boots on the ground, bro. Reporting. We're gonna put you on our shorts on the YouTube channel, bro.
Nah, I don't have no guys or whatever, and I'm kind of stepping away from that shit anyway. So, all good with that. That's the last place I want to be, Indianapolis. Like, that place sucks.
Don't they got good steak or something like that?
I wouldn't know.
My bad, player.
I be trying to get in and out, but yeah. Overall, it's just an opportunity for them to have these conversations and see what happens. But I think Peter King, who wrote his final piece for Sports Illustrated, positioned something that I also positioned on here a couple weeks ago, where it's like, hey, Chicago could move on from the number 1 pick, whatever slot they end up, trading to, they could move down again and acquire even more picks and be able to truly build around Justin Fields, not just on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively as well, to prepare their team to get to the next level and hopefully keep their jobs, Ryan Poles and Matt Uberflus. That's what I think is a real possibility, and I would love to be in Ryan Poles' position, because if I could get Washington to move up from 2 to 1, and they take Caleb Williams, and I'm sitting at 2 now, I can force a team to come up to try to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May, and possibly still keep my picks within the the top 10. I still got what I think they got the 9th or the 10th pick overall.
Yeah, they got
And
the
then I could
okay.
Yeah, but then I could move back again, acquire an additional second round pick and a future first. Like, it's just moves that they can make to acquire more assets and get some talented players in this draft. Because currently the Chicago Bears don't have a second because that was traded to Washington for Montez Sweat. And I'm pretty sure they would want to get back into the fold of the second round, as there will be a lot of talented guys on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball come second round of the draft.
Look, now AJ kind of did what I've been saying that a lot of fans did with Dan Quinn's comments. Like, you can apply it to the position you want to take. Like, oh, he's talking about this quarterback. So AJ's stance is he took from Ryan Poe's comments is that he thinks that they're going to trade it. Me, I couldn't take nothing from Ryan Poe's his comments. I actually mentioned this on Twitter. I talked to someone earlier, and they kind of took it the opposite way of AJ. They said they believe after hearing that Justin Fields is definitely gone in their draft Caleb Williams. But I was like, Ryan Poe said exactly what he was supposed to say, whether he wants to keep Fields or trade Fields. Like, he didn't give you anything, you know. I mean, because but the biggest thing I took from it is that we will know the Bears' decision in less than 2 weeks. The legal tampering period starts on March 11th in the NFL. So that's when you can actually negotiate free agency. That's when that's when the tier 1 dudes usually negotiate and come to an agreement. Yeah.
They can actually agree to a trade term right now.
Yeah, this is where Alex Smith got traded.
Yeah,
Alex
right.
Smith
Washington
got traded.
Right.
Yeah, he got traded during Super Bowl week. So they can agree to a trade right now that would just become official when the league year starts. So that's why I'm like, hey, you're gonna know something about Justin Fields within the next week. You have to.
Yeah,
because it's the perfect opportunity for everybody to be there. You don't need to make no phone call. You don't need to send no text. You right in the same hotel as them. You could bump into them at lunch, at dinner, you know, outside of the actual facility of the stadium where everyone's going to be participating in their workouts. But, you know, either way, you're going to learn something. They're either moving Justin Fields or they're keeping Justin Fields within the next week.
And as you said, AJ, we're going to know that answer soon. And there was a comment, I don't think that was played in that particular video that Jamal played, but there was a comment that Ryan Poe's made afterwards. I don't remember the question verbatim, but the question was along the lines of, when do you hope to come to a decision on Justin Fields? And Ryan Poe said tomorrow. Like, I mean, basically, I want to have this done quickly as far as, you know, getting this done. And he mentioned this in the video that Mual played, that, you know, he doesn't like the gray areas, and it's not fair to Justin Fields to kind of keep him in a limbo about his future, especially knowing that you want to get something done. If that's your plan of getting a trade done with Justin Fields, you want to get it done before free agency, because you want him to get a leg up on any job openings available at the quarterback spot before any free agency, before any free agent quarterbacks can get those spots. So he wants to give Justin Fields a leg up if that's what they want to do, is trade Justin Fields. So that's why I said we are going to know in less than 2 weeks. It could be tomorrow, you know, it could be the end of this week. But the point is we're going to know before March 11th what the Bears do, because right now the Bears control the draft. Like, the Bears are sitting at the top. They are controlling everything that's going to happen after them, and they get to actually decide and control this in March. They get to set the tone of the draft in March, and we're going to know soon. And that whatever they decide, whether they decide to, you know, trade Fields or whether they decide to keep Fields, it's going to absolutely have 100% impact on what Washington does at number 2.
Yeah,
I'm with Justin, bro. It's all setting up for that man, Caleb to be a Chicago Bear, bro. That's all it is, bro. That's all it is, man. We just gotta accept it, man.
But let me throw something out there. What if Caleb Williams just intentionally bombs his interview with the Chicago Bears? He has no agent. No, like I'm being.
I know you're asking about the hypothetical, like.
No, I'm just saying, like, he really could show them with his actions and not his words that he doesn't want to be in Chicago.
Well, all right, what about this? This is something I've actually been thinking about, and this is something I don't know if a lot of people have kind of put a lot of thought into this. what if the Bears like Jaden Daniels more than Caleb Williams? Because that's a thing for a lot of people. I mean, you see people like Merrill Hoge. I mean, Merrill Hoge doesn't work in the NFL front office, but you got to feel like that's not a minority opinion to say that someone else might be QB number one. And what if the Bears like Jaden Daniels more? And what if the Commanders like Jaden Daniels more than Caleb Williams? Like, I mean, I'm sure that Caleb Williams will probably be at the top of most teams' quarterback boards. But what if there's a few teams that say, I have Jaden Daniels rated over Caleb Williams? And that's where the real fight is.
Yeah, I think it's all realistic. I mean, kind of went through the same thing last year with the CJ Stroud and Bryce Young episode. You never know which way they're going to go. Like, as a consensus, we all believe that Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in this draft. And the top 3 teams all need quarterbacks. So it really could be anyone. They could fall in love with Drake May, you know? Who knew that they were gonna pick what's that boy name that they picked number 2?
Trubisky.
Yeah, who knew that they were gonna take Mr. Trubisky over Deshaun Watson? I won't even say Patrick Mahomes' name, but Deshaun Watson coming off a national championship. Like, no one thought that Mitchell Trubisky was gonna be the number 2 pick overall. Like, that didn't even sound realistic, but you never know what some teams are looking for, and also the connection that they feel within those interviews.
I don't think y'all are wrong. I think there's plausible scenarios that can really. I think the biggest thing is like really seeing like somebody slide. Like, think about it like this. AJ mentioned like body language being an indicator when he has these interviews or conversations that he in the hypothetical that he doesn't want to be with the Bears, but or that he doesn't want to get drafted by them. But what about the idea of like, what if he's actually not good in the interviews? Like, how do you depict that? Because what if he's interviewing with several other teams and they get the same exact vibe that the Chicago Bears get? I mean, obviously you're gonna take somebody because like he's a talented quarterback, right? Somebody's gonna take him in the first round. But I think like all of these different scenarios can like be a double-edged sword in that same vein. I remember I saw this video from Drake May about breaking down his game, and I really wanted to watch this today, but just time didn't allow me. But he broke down his game in some film session. I forgot who he was working with, but
He was working with Sam Howell's twin, Colt McCoy, 1.0.
But think about it like this, bro. Who was I thinking about? Oh Lord, I want to give him credit. I want to say it was maybe it was Randy Mueller or maybe it was Brian Mitchell. I can't remember, but that's really about to drive me crazy. But point being, whoever I heard this from, it made so much sense because it's like, how can you trust, like, for example, somebody who makes consistently makes mistakes like on the field, like they make the same mistakes over and over again? How can you trust a person who's able to tell you exactly what's going on, but they say they make the same damn mistakes over and over again on the field? Like they can walk you through the process, but they just keep messing up on the field. Like that in itself can be a red flag. So like from that standpoint, I thought that, and that's why I was like, I want to listen to this, but I'm hearing good reviews about Drake May breaking that down. But I wonder I wonder what they spoke on specifically in there, and like even what that would look like in an interview. Because if that's a person who's breaking down like the good and bad, like is the bad some stuff that you've seen throughout his seasons in North Carolina, and that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was Randy Mueller that had brought up that point.
Oh, bet.
But even in those situations, like I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I watched maybe a minute of it. The sit down, I think, is Josh Norris and Colt McCoy. But even in those situations, behind the scenes, when that interview is even set up, they allow the prospect to pick the game that they want to highlight and pick the plays and break and focus on the good and the bad. So it's like it's some stuff that you're already prepared for going into it. because they're having
So you do got some
communication with
control.
yeah, you have control because they're going over these details with your representation. It's all PR at the end of the day. That's why they're doing it. It's to get that extra leg of PR to say like, oh, this guy can dissect the film and also he's showing, actions of doing so on the field. So that's where it gets interesting when these actual interviews happen with these teams because they don't have any damn clue what they're walking into. They may not even talk football with them. Like they may just talk about other sports or what's going on in the world. It may not be anything related to football at all. So if he goes into a room, Drake May, whoever, any prospect, and they ask him to break down a play, they're not necessarily prepared for that moment. They're prepared that that could be a question, but at the end of the day, they have no clue what play that is. Whereas in an interview setup like that with Colt McCoy and the other individual, he already knew in advance everything they needed to break down, key points to hit. Publicists told him key words to use, don't use.
Yeah, that's a really. I'm
It's
glad you
all
said that.
fabricated.
That's
And
a really
somebody,
good point.
and to AJ's point, I had seen, I didn't see the interview as well, Mo. I just saw the little snippet of it. But someone had mentioned to that point that they didn't elaborate on the flaws that Drake May kind of try to touch on a little bit. Like they kind of laughed and joked about it, but they didn't really go into more detail about some of the bad things he put out there. And, I probably would like to see more of that because that would tell me, okay, he sees what he really did. They went into detail about what he did wrong, what he can do better, or what he saw here. So, I mean, I do agree with AJ. It does sound like more one of those fluff things. But I mean, getting back to, and Justin brought up something in the chat. He said I was in the weeds with the, I think he was talking about the Jaden Daniels conversation that could hypothetically be over. But no, I'm not saying that Jaden Daniels is my guy. I do like Jaden Daniels. Don't get me wrong. Like he's my number 2 quarterback in this draft. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that it's far-fetched to say that some teams may kind of like him a little bit more. Maybe not even the team itself, but maybe some people in the organization, they may like him because Merrill Hoge is not alone in his opinion that Jaden Daniels is the number 1 quarterback. I've seen a couple of different analysts say this. So you got to feel like maybe some teams probably do think that. I mean, I don't buy into a lot of the stuff that's put out there about Caleb Williams, especially about his character. I think a lot of it is bull junk. I think it was Front Office Sports. They actually put out an article this week detailing how Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, they've allowed anyone to get a blue check. Anyone can, put themselves out there. Yeah, it's verified. And with that, they kind of put out stories that get funneled and people believe it to the point where you don't even know where the original thing started from. And one of those things with Caleb was about the ownership thing. I haven't seen one substantiated source confirm that Caleb Williams wanted partial ownership in whatever team drafted him. And there's a couple of other things out there about Caleb that just hasn't been substantiated. Even the stuff about him wanting to possibly do an Eli Manning to get out of getting drafted by the Bears. None of that has been substantiated. I mean, it's possible, but I haven't seen anything concrete on that. But anybody can make this stuff up and run with it to the point where you start to believe it. But I mean, regardless of that, that goes back to, you all were talking about if he possibly interviews bad. Now, I do think especially multiple bad interviews for Caleb, that could possibly hurt him in a sense because people are already kind of generating other things about his character. They're talking about him crying in his stance, which I think is bullshit. I mean, that doesn't bother me at all that a guy goes and cries in his stance. I even heard Al Gaudy talking this morning about the painting the nails, and he was saying how immature that looks, or NFL franchises aren't going to want a quarterback that is doing immature things like that. You can't do that at the next level. Again, that stuff doesn't bother me, but I don't know how much stock NFL franchises put into that. You may have some petty people out there that are knocking Caleb for these type of things. But all I'm saying is that you have to prepare yourself for the possibility that they could like somebody more. I mean, this is the Bears we're talking about. I mean, obviously Ryan Poles, he wasn't the general manager when they had selected Mitch Trubisky. So you have to kind of give him benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, you just never know what some people value or what they're looking for in that type of quarterback. I mean, anything, it can go either way.
You know what's interesting is like Raheem Morris kind of touched on it today. He pretty much alluded to in an interview that he had with one of the reporters from CBS Sports. He pretty much like marriage the quarterback selection to also the fabric of that particular city that you play in. That's kind of why I thought that Drake May would be perfect for New England Patriots, because of how their culture is designed, also their community. Now with Bill Belichick being out of the picture and Gerard Mayo, not fitting the typical mold of what they're accustomed to, times is a bit different. But Raheem was pretty much getting to the fact like this is a predominantly black city, and most of our supporters are African American. Michael Vick played a big role in that, being one of the favorite teams among black audiences. They're used to electrifying type quarterbacks and getting that entertainment buzz. It's pretty much the Hollywood of the South. It's more layered than just even on the field. Like, yeah, you have the field aspect that you're breaking down, but it's also from a cultural standpoint, how is this person going to coincide within this community? And I appreciated Raheem doing that on a public standpoint, because those are real things that happen, like the marketing aspect. How are we going to market this individual? If Atlanta ended up wanting to select Drake May, does he really fit within the mode of the city, what they already do from a marketing standpoint? Can he really push ticket sales, all those things aside from what he's doing on the field? Like, it's just things that head coaches don't normally say out loud publicly. But I definitely seen Raheem catching some heat from some fans in regards to that. But it's real. Like, you want to know if the guy that you're drafting within the top 10 at the quarterback position is someone that you can market. That's why the Caleb Williams thing connected to Washington has been so heavily tied to one another, because he's from DC, new ownership group, no face of the franchise. Like, you don't really have blue chip players. You can market him on and off the field. Even with Jaden Daniels, you can market him on and off the field because of the electrifying things that he can do within his game, and he's a Heisman Trophy winner. So I thought that was pretty interesting just to add into the conversation. Not sure if you guys called it, Dre and Mo.
Oh yeah, me and Mual actually had talked a little bit about that, and it went back to the Glover Quinn. Glover, right? It's Glover. Yeah, Glover Quinn mentioned,
you got it.
But he was talking
Glover.
From he was talking about from a head coaching standpoint at the time, but it can apply to the quarterback situation as well. Like, does this person fit with what you're trying to do? And I know that Raheem probably shook the table a little bit with his comments, but what I love about that is Raheem Morris is unapologetically himself, and he's standing on what he believes in, and he's saying, hey, I believe my city will be best represented by someone who relates to the city in a sense. Atlanta is one of the most affluent black communities in all of America. So if you're building a franchise, a quarterback in that situation, you're a business. The NFL is a business. You got to market this somehow, and you can market and relate more to your audience with somebody who looks like your audience. And that's all Raheem is saying. And I know some people are going to take that the wrong way, but I don't see the problem in him kind of putting that out there. And that's just a truth that a lot of people don't want to probably talk about because they think it's some underlying racial tones and all of that. But I don't think so. He's just saying that this guy will represent my city. Yeah, he said, we want someone that can best represent this city, because we're not just running a football team. We're running a business. We're running a community. Like, we are in the community. We're within the people here. We're trying to breed leaders. So you want someone that can kind of relate to the audience that you're pulling in. Like AJ said, a lot of those fans are black fans. I mean, yeah, of course, that's not the only fans they have, but that's a big part of what you're doing. So for me, I had no issue with Raheem stating that, and he was just saying what would fit that city, man.
I just think it's the last thing for me. I think one of the bigger examples, just to even understand it, because we DMV, Lamar coming up to Baltimore, bruh. Like, he fits Baltimore perfectly, bruh. And like, he's immersed in the community, bruh. Like, where he from, like, Baltimore don't scare him, bruh. But like, that's a good thing. Like, he can step around like where he need to if he want to, and the city gonna love him. And guess what? there's videos of Tucker out there making moves in the trenches, bro. Like hanging out with people. Like it ain't nothing for some people, bro. As long as they immerse in the community, bro. You just don't be like people gonna mess with you. Also, as long as you good, but as long as you good to the team and the community too, they're gonna be there for you, bro. But I think Lamar is probably the best example of that. But to that extent, like I agreed with Raheem too. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Even though I would have understood it regardless, I understood it even further when I heard Glover kind of break it down from his standpoint. So I was like, damn, like this shit is a real thing from a marketing standpoint, but also like seeing somebody, because quarterback is the most important position. If it ain't your head coach, like you gotta figure out somebody who can really like galvanize the community and bring them to the games and have something for them to believe in. So it's a good point. It's a real good point. All right. So that's gonna wrap it up for us. Fellas, AJ, Drake. First off, I don't even know how this recording thing gonna work. Y'all didn't. It's like I think we got 2 different Dre's, 2 different Saints, 2 different Saints. We're gonna figure this thing out. But where's I at? Oh, I'm gonna try and get us another draft guy. I don't know what's going on with bro, the ones that we've been talking about. So I'm gonna try and swing another direction for draft guys, but I think it's gonna be a good time after the combine drop finishes, so we can kind of get a full blown view of that combine plus some profiles. I got a couple people in mind. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Dre, AJ, y'all boys be safe. If we got any breaking news, like Justin Fields being traded, it's gonna happen in a couple of days. You know what I'm saying?
Or the number 1 pick getting traded.
Oh yeah, maybe number 1 pick being traded. No, Washington getting up to number 1. Who knows? I'll put it out there. I'll let it exist. Will, man, hey man, perfect timing because I almost cut the stream off. I appreciate you, Will, man. You always showing love, bro. As always, so I appreciate you, big dog. Appreciate you showing love to the Drop or Dive channel, to the game, man. So that's gonna wrap it up for us. Y'all boys be safe. Everybody be safe. Enjoy your weekends, all that good stuff. We up out of here. Peace.
Yes, sir.